Jimmy Pallotta, the Roma president, said I turn on the TV at 4 a.m. to ESPN FC and you have Alejandro, whatever the hell his name is, making a stupid comment about, oh, let's face it, Roma's not a good team. We reached out to Pallotta and he will be on the show next week so he can have a nice chat with Ali, whatever the hell his name is. We'll look forward to that. Now, obviously, you know, a lot of people got in contact with the show to say, oi, wait a minute. You said Roma aren't a very good team. Look what they achieved this season. They got out a group that included Chelsea and Atletico Madrid. They beat Shakhtar and they knocked out Barcelona with that comeback. They're third in Serie A. They were knocked out of the Coppa Italia and well, they don't mention that bit. Anyway, so what all the talking point is, once again, is injustice when it comes to Italian football. The front page of Gazzetta. Another injustice, of course, bringing it back as well to what happened in the Juve Real Madrid game. This is what Florenzi had to say after the match. We conceded 7 goals over 2 legs, but we conceded a goal that was offside in the first leg, then the penalty on Edin Dzeko, who wasn't offside, and the really obvious one with a handball, which would have been a red card. We could have gone 3-2 up and attempt the miracle. Fazio adds to it. He says it's a pity about today, especially with 2 incredible penalties not given to us, plus the referee only gave 3 minutes of stoppage time. Just going back to what Pallotta said away from Ali, other than one mistake that Nangolan made and a mistake where Dzeko got pushed almost outside the box on their second goal, we actually played a really good game. If we don't get VAR in the Champions League, then stuff like this is an absolute joke. I think my favourite quote from everyone is Monchi. It's time to raise our voices, not just Roma either, as Juventus suffered the same against Real Madrid. Italian football has to raise its voice, because what we saw tonight was shocking. I'm Spanish, I arrived here a year ago, but I think it's time Italian football raises its voice, because this is not normal. Have they got a point?
Absolutely not. They were so good as a team going forward that 3 of the 6 goals were handed to them. They were so good as a defensive unit that not only did they lose 7 goals over 2 games, they could have lost 12 goals over 2 games. If you're going to blame the referee, you better have been clearly the best team, you better be squeaky clean, you better not have had decisions given to you, and it has to be either a or a few extremely obvious decisions that have totally gone against you, and that is the only reason you're out. But that just is not true. Roma are out because they got beaten by a better team. Roma are out because they can't defend, and as I said, lost 7 goals. And Roma are out not only blaming the referee, but not thanking the referees over the 2 legs for giving them penalties they shouldn't have. They never sent off Florenzi, who should have... You know, there are so many things that went against Liverpool as well that, of course, doesn't matter to Roma. So don't blame the referee unless your house is clean. And their house is far from clean.
Shaq, before we hear from you, I want to bring Gab Marcotti into the show. Gab, what do you make of what Stevie just said?
I think there's a point. I mean, if we sit down and we go through all the individual incidents and we tally them up and we weigh them up, then there were a lot of things that went against Liverpool too. And it doesn't change the fact that over 120 minutes, Liverpool probably were, or not probably, I think they were the better side. All of that said, football doesn't work that way. A make-up call in the 93rd minute, which is clearly what Roma's last goal was, doesn't make up for the impact that, you know, a penalty early on would have had. Incidents like this change the flow of games, and I can understand how, out of all the incidents that we mentioned, you know, Dzeko's, the goal that led to the Liverpool second goal, and Florenzi on Mane and whatnot, you know, there is one that stands out above everybody else, which legitimately would have had a huge impact because it was early enough in the game and it was a penalty and a sending off, and that was Trent Alexander-Arnold's handball, and that is what they focused on after the game. And remember, they come from a league that has VAR, that by and large is happy with VAR, and they say, well, wait a minute, why don't we have this in big games? Surely it's worth it in a big game to get rid of all this nonsense.
I get it, Gab, but do they genuinely believe that the UEFA officials met in a darkened room before this match and thought, you know, we really want Liverpool to go through, so we've got to give them all the calls ahead of Roma. This is just mistakes. It's just errors. There's no conspiracy, is there?
Dan, that's ridiculous. Nobody said that. No,
Well,
nobody said that.
Monchi said it's
Nobody
time for the
believes
Italians
that.
to stand up and to fight against these injustices.
Yes, and what he's
Look at
talking
us.
about is VAR.
So why bring
What
up
he's talking
Juventus?
about
Why
is-
does he bring up Juventus, Gav? It's completely and utterly unnecessary. If you're going to say
No,
that
it's not. It's Dan, maybe you weren't paying attention before, but Juventus made the point that we want VAR. They want VAR straight away. Roma made the same point. Napoli made the same point. The head of UEFA's referees, who happens to be Italian, Pierluigi Collina, together with other people at UEFA, think that it's not ready for the Champions League. That's what he's talking about when he says we need to make our voices heard, we need to get more respect, blah, blah, blah. And the implication is that if Real Madrid wanted VAR, you'd have VAR tomorrow. That's what he's driving at. He's not talking about a conspiracy in a darkened room. So, nobody except for some fool with a tin hat actually believes that.
Yeah, I tell you what, I absolutely disagree with it 100%. There's no way anybody can sit down and read those comments from Monchi and say he's talking about VAR. It's impossible. It's impossible to come to that conclusion that he's only solely talking about VAR.
It's entirely possible if you look at the whole quote.
Well, I tell
He
you
talked
what,
for like 20 minutes. You're only picking one thing
you're
out
the
of
only
it.
person.
He doesn't think there's a
You're the only
conspiracy
person
against
over
them.
the last 24 hours that I know that has actually taken that from that statement.
Right, Shaq.
Let me say, I think the comments you're getting from the Roma camp are pointing to a lot more than VAR. Regardless of how it's framed at this point, there's a deeper suggestion to that. And as much as I understand the emotion, as much as I sympathize with the hurt, especially going out in this manner, especially how you come back and you got the miracle against Barcelona, to come this close and not get through, again, it hurts. But when the dust settles, you have to understand that Roma were 5-0 down after the first leg. And as much as you may want to point to the first goal being offside, you know that this is a two-legged tie, and this is 180 minutes. And if the first goal is offside, that doesn't mean that you throw caution to the wind and just gamble and play yourself out of this game. Now, the fact that Liverpool let them back in, both at the back end of the first leg and the back end of the second leg, points to Liverpool's issues, which we've spoken about in depth.
Shaka, I'm sorry. This is what annoys people, right? It's Liverpool letting them back in because Roma are a bunch of stiffs. As Ali said the other night, they're no good at anything. They can't do anything. The only way they score is if the referee gives them stuff or if Liverpool are so bad they let them get back in. The fact of the matter is, the last 45 minutes, when they were down and out, they did their best and they scored.
Any good European team at this stage of the competition, 5-0 up, you do not concede too late on. You're 2-1 up away from home to go through. You do not concede late on. I'm sitting next to a man who's played in great European teams, and they would not make those mistakes. We've criticized this Liverpool team for doing exactly this. Don't go there with me. Not today, Gab. No.
All right. Shaka, as I recall, Real Madrid are 3-0 up at home on aggregate against Juventus.
And we
what
did criticize them.
They concede 3 times, but I guess they're a rubbish team too, with your mate Keylor Navas in goal.
We made the same criticism about them, guys.
Everybody's bad. Nobody's good. Everybody's bad.
We made the exact same criticism about them. We made the exact same criticism about Barcelona. But Roma are immune to the same criticism when they make those same mistakes?
Gab, can I ask you a question?
Well, no, Roma did make... Yeah.
We go back to the Monchi statement, right? There's a line in there that 100% gives it away that he's not talking VAR. When he says, I'm Spanish, I'm not even Italian. What does that got to do with VAR? That is 100% saying it's the Italians that are getting stiffed every single time. Why does he bring that up?
We're running out of time. I just want to get Julian's point of view on everything you've heard, Jules, from the boys. What's your take on it?
I understand Roma's frustration, and I think that they're a better team than Ali made them out to be. But I think Bayern Munich got harshly done by referees' mistakes as well, and so did Manchester City. And I didn't hear them complaining as much as Roma did. And I'm sorry, you lose a football match, you have to take some responsibility. Okay, the referee was poor over the 2 legs. There were mistakes made. There were mistakes made against Roma and for Roma as well. And over those kind of games, I think it balances. And I think Roma can be frustrated. But I still think Liverpool were the better side overall. But Roma deserve credit for how far they went still in this competition.